You're watching I Am Ultimate's coverage of the 2022 Canadian Ultimate Championships from the Flower City, Brampton, Ontario. We're at the VC Showcase Field for an absolutely spicy Pool C matchup. The winner takes the pool here between Manic out of Montreal in the dark jerseys and General Strike in the cream jerseys with the red underneath. They're from Winnipeg, and they'll be starting out on offense. Theo Wan here with Clayton Howlett and Clay. Both teams 2-0, so this is kind of the big matchup here. What are you expecting from these two squads?
Well, start with Strike. I'm expecting a lot of energy, just positive talk for the co-players, like teammates keeping each other going, but also a lot of intensity coming out. Strike has been at it at Nationals for quite a long time. We see them in finals all the time. They've missed some victories at Nationals and just short of that gold medal just a few times. And there's been a lot of talk that this is their year. So I expect to see a lot of discipline, but a lot of intensity. I think they really got their eye on it. And then Manic, I don't know too much about Manic. I'm actually really excited to see what they got. I did see them playing a little bit earlier. They are quick, they're athletic, and I saw them warming up earlier. They seem really cohesive. They seem really funny, and I've just been watching them throughout the day, and they look like they're thrilled to be at Nationals. And I also heard they were doing a little scouting on Strike here. So I think we're going to see kind of some tactics happening for how this game goes.
Both coaches, LP and Thomas Duplex, out there, perhaps doing some scouting. We'll have to figure that out for another day. But General Strike here on offense, their main handler, Jesse Greenberg, getting things started for the team.
Looks like a pretty standard man defense or vertical offense right now.
Down here on this close sideline, that's Hoffman. Was told by their coach, Rob Burns, to watch out for number 21, Noah Hoffman. He's got some speed on him, so expecting him to put the afterburners on throughout this game. Cohen on this close sideline for Strike. They had two big victories earlier today, GT and Oni, and they're in this spot. Ladyman going to put it out. And that throw just slicing a little too much into the turf, looking for Jeffrey Boris, and that will be a turnover for Strike.
In a previous game on this field, the wind was starting to play kind of a bigger role, and as the day has gone on, the wind has picked up. And while it hasn't been a straight head-on wind, there is a crosswind, and it's just pushing those edge throws down or up, respectively, causing a lot of turnovers.
Manic now their first chance. One of the captains, Arthur Limoges, on this sideline, going to power up a backhand. Charles Gay is there to reel it in, and Manic gets things going with a break. It's 1-0.
See that high energy off Manic running onto the field. First point break, defensive line dream, except maybe only second only to getting that defensive break on Universe, but huge for Manic when you're playing a team that is established as Strike, that has been around for quite a long time and continues to replenish their ranks and be a threat. I mean, starting the game off with a break against them is pretty huge.
You hear them cheering the little D-line chant, and that's going to get the team fired up. As you said, it's a bit of a younger squad. There's some veterans in there, but a lot of people that are still in university are just out of it. So it's interesting when you have a young team like that, Clay, they're going to ride the waves up and down, right? So you're going to have a team that's super excited, but if they get punched in the mouth, which I expect Strike to come back, we'll see what they do then, how they respond to some adversity.
And Strike has had that practice. Strike has been in those positions where they've been down and they've been up and they've had to recollect. And, with the Manic taking the lead right away here, if Strike does come back and really turn it on, get a few breaks or a break, we'll just see how Manic responds. And if both teams can keep that discipline and composure to just trade off here, breaks or holds.
Getting a look at the General Strike offense. Similar suspects out there. Hoffman, Ladyman, Crew, Greenberg. They're all out there once again. So Coach Burns said that he would open up the lines if needed, but also we'll see if they tighten up. Potentially if it's like a 10-all game, he said they would, but they're going to start with kind of open lines, but they'll run their offensive line out here for a second time. This is a short point. Person defense out here for Manic.
Seeing Strike not having too much problems working around and happy to use those short throws. Just, you play possession ultimate right now, and when you're playing an athletic team, you just want to make sure that you're not taking unnecessary shots and taking turnovers that really you could have prevented.
And Mephisto also coming out with a lot of new defensive line players. See Peterson out there right now, 42 from Manic. Find Crew just outside the end zone. General Strike looking for their first one. Very crowded in that area. They do find their teammate there, Crew does, and Ladyman. But, excuse me, not Ladyman, another teammate there. But it was not easy for General Strike. They're very crowded on that open side.
But seeming to find a player, like you had a receiver there, just stick with Crew, just say, maybe I'm not supposed to be here, maybe this isn't my system, but I'm open. Go for it. Just toss it in there. And Crew with that little bladey, quick throw into the end zone there. If it works, it works. We said that last game. We'll say it this game. I mean, you got to take the opportunities you got sometimes if it's a real gimme for that goal.
Devin Cohen with the grab for Strike as they tie it up 1-1. Now we get to see Manic's offensive line. This team fell to Quake earlier this season. I know they've had some up and down results. They did get a win over Mephisto and pool play at regionals, albeit a depleted Mephisto squad that didn't bring their full squad there. But this team has an opportunity to make some moves in this tournament. The 5 seed, looking at a potential semis berth, and we're going to get a first look at their offensive line here.
But Strike coming down, real intense D. And Manic still hasn't moved the disc out of their end zone. And as a handler, you have that disc and you're right at the back there, and your nerves can get to you. And we talk about them being a young team, but we're seeing some pretty good discipline here, taking our time, and Manic's able to move the disc outside their end zone, play some possession ultimate without too much of a problem.
Hooley working things with Colberry. 2 McGill players. Colberry still playing for McGill. Hooley already has 3 assists in this tournament, trying to add more to that. One of the captains, number 6 there, kind of on the far side.
Manic's offense looking a little mechanical downfield, but really free flow in the front. Willing to just do give goes with handlers and keep it moving. But we have a call. Looks like they're going to be able to work it out. But the observer, Glenn Ford, maybe getting involved. But the disc is coming back to the thrower, and we're at stall 8.
Nathan Magnus, the other observer. Team Orange, as we call them, out here making sure things run smoothly for both teams. Hooley now on that far sideline goes around to Salvas. Little inside shot to Colberry.
Manic falling back into a vertical initiation offense. It's pretty free form, but all players always retreating back to the middle and lining up with lots of space.
Now going deep, open receiver, and that's going to be easy for Manic. Miranda finds his target in St. Pierre for the grab.
Looks like he got away from his defender there on Strike. I think watching Manic's offense, it's hard as a downfield defender to keep your eyes totally focused on your check, because when you're watching those handlers just do give goes, move it around, it's a short game, when are they going to go under, that suddenly that player off the back of the snack just sneaks away from you while you're looking in and where you can break that give go play up in the middle. So I feel like just maybe got caught looking. Nathan Gooey just maybe caught looking at the downfield a little too long that Manic was able to sneak that past him.
And sometimes as a defense, you get almost entranced by the fact that there's give-goes happening in the handler space, because as cutter defenders, you almost relent a little bit. You're falling asleep because you just see so much movement over there. You forget that someone could slip down in the deep space and then get a free shot there.
Yeah, and that's tough. You want to go make a difference, but you also got to have that discipline to make sure that you're not going to get burned, as we just saw.
Strike back out here on offense. Victor Płotczykolski with the pull.
Manic coming down in rather, it looks like his own defense kind of poached 2 people in what could be called a wedge or a cup, while 3 in the middle forming a wall, and 2 deeps, where each deep is trading off 1 short and 1 long for any deep threats that Strike is throwing.
Boris now with the disc as Manic moving into person defense. Strike worked really quickly through that zone and have now forced Manic to transition. There's some calls on the field, and I thought there was a pick call, but play seemingly continuing.
Odd that a player would signal stoppage and then there'd just be a continue like that.
Great shimmy cut there from Boris. Throw a little behind it, but stays with it. Boris now stuck on that close side, going to go around to Greenberg. Greenberg has a juking Goldberg. Now settling into end zone offense is Strike. Been very patient so far on this point, as Manic tries to roll and switch in their handler defenders.
Seeing a pretty rigid system here from Strike, but it looks like we've got an injury call on the field. Maybe a stomped on foot or foul that's on Zachary Goldberg.
Limoges and Goldberg getting tangled up there in the cutter lanes. Goldberg now. Still an offensive point here for Strike. Great no step around backhand to Benoon for the grab. Another clean hold down for Strike after getting broken to start. Things starting to settle back down for the Winnipeg squad.
Strike did a really good job of running their system there. If they had the disc in the middle outside of the end zone, if they threw an open side pass, that is to where the defender was not marking on, they would always follow the pass and go up the line and see if they could get just a straight race to the open side to get that goal. And if not, they would look for a reset and usually get around to the break side. And any break side throws they were throwing, they would just hang out and let their cuts develop from the front. And that's just what we saw with Benoon coming off the front, getting a break side pass. Really good discipline in the end zone by Strike there. And just it's fun to see a team run the exact same system my team runs.
And they've settled down their offense after, as we mentioned, getting broken on the first point. Benoon, along with Matt Ladyman, part of a gold medal winning team for Team Canada all the way back in 2014 in Lecco, Italy, taking home the gold against Team USA. For those who remember, Darren Wu with a sweet grab over Terrence Mitchell for the score. So 2 Strike players with that experience. It's been a few years now, but both of those players having played for Strike for a few seasons and bringing that experience forward.
Hey, well, experience is a good thing. You know, you want some of those players who have been around for a long time because they can really cement your offense.
This center to Hooley, going to be one of the main handlers for Manic. Manic had a very clean offensive point the last time around. No turnovers. Have yet to actually have one in this game. It's early, of course, 2-all.
Straight playing a very poachy defense here. Definitely 2 men at the front trying to harangue the handlers, it seems, just only into resets, not letting them get any upfield things, and then the backfield playing total support. Manic, though, staying really patient, not willing to throw into those poachers in the middle until they find a hole, as they do.
This is where you want to see them break out, as we hear a melt called, which is a universal get into person defense now call. Laying out into space, Miranda looking for a second assist. This may be a call here. 2 players in the area. Quinn Wilson got up, but so did his check out there as well.
Now for our member angle here in the booth, I think that Manic player might have his number. I don't have his number. He definitely has
the number
a case.
On the shorts there.
Very
I think that's
difficult
St.
to see.
Pierre.
Yeah, St. Pierre. It's number 19, St. Pierre. Might have a case of that he had it first. It was he was definitely grabbing it, and after a spirited discussion and working it out, actually, maybe I take it back. I think they went to the observer there, but nevertheless, ruled the goal. So St. Pierre bringing that down and stopping rotation of the disc first before it was ripped out of his hands. And that is his second goal of the game. And once again, an assist from Miranda, which he had before. So Miranda 2 assists, St. Pierre 2 goals. See me working well together.
Well, you're seeing Manic have success without getting Paul Hooley as much involved. And so if he gets involved, that could spell some disaster for Strike. He like we mentioned before, has 3 assists coming into this game. Both of these teams being successful in their first 2 contests, and Strike not tested as much as I think Manic was in terms of the score lines that we saw, but this is right now a test for Strike, and if they want to make a run at the title, which I think we both in the booth here, and our producer Tushar Singh probably thinks that as well, that Strike can make a big run to the final or perhaps take it. This is the kind of game you want where you learn a lot about your team and get to see what strategies work. You can watch this game film and find out.
Absolutely. You almost need this test early in the tournament, as if you're getting the test for the first time in a playoff bracket or anything like that, which is the worst time because you will have no second chances. In pool play, when you have your 1-2 teams playing in pool play while coming in second in your pool might lead you to a pre-quarter or something like that, you still might see this team again, and all's not lost. So being tested early, not such a bad thing.
Float into space for Ladyman. Got a defender on his back, but takes it with the right hand. Goldberg throwing that out into space for Ladyman. Having to reset it. Going up the line, bobble. That was Cohen, Cohen claiming he got the grab.
Yeah, observers agree. Great, just athletic up the line offense there, and being able to stay on the second effort at the same time working out the bobble to have the multitasking of keeping toes in at the same time while trying to get a firm grip on the disc. Really focused play right there.
Cohen been involved in a couple goals here for Strike, and things really starting to settle down for both teams. Ever since the first point, we haven't had a turnover since. It's been offense, and Clay, I like offense. I don't know about you. I'm not sure if you're a defensive-minded guy, but even if you're not, you're going to have to put on your defensive hat now. What can either team do right now to kind of stop what's happening on offense?
Well, I am an offensive guy, but I really like telling defense how to play defense. So right now...
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Don't we all? But, you know, what I actually am curious about Strike is their zone, last defensive point they played, was really shutting Manic down. But the problem is when you do the 2-3-2, when you have 2 men up front, 3 in the middle, and 2 in the back, it's very difficult for those 2 in the front to generate situations where they can actually get to the disc and generate a turnover. It's much more of a hold fast kind of defense and keep the other team from moving it down the field. So I'm curious if Strike's going to stick with that or go for something a little bit more aggressive.
Forces them to throw a lot of passes as well. Almost a turnover, but Kolinsky will get the garbage. Heads up play was in the horizontal stack, going to go around.
We are seeing Strike in a man defense here, person defense, and perhaps going for something more aggressive.
Hooley shooting deep for Miranda, just out of the right hand, and I'm not sure if he was going to make a call on Wilson there, but just putting his hands on his knees, and play is going to continue, and that's Manic's first turnover of this game.
I think those hands on the knees and the hand up was just a measure of frustration of just getting a little, taking eyes off the disc, and when that defender gets in front of you unannounced, it can take your focus away for a split second and keep you from catching it.
Bursting out of the front of the stack. Strike trying to get their offense moving here. That was Gutkin. Has the receiver going deep. Villa. Pump fakes instead. Kolinsky was trailing his offensive player in Toddle, and most likely a pick call here is observer Glenn Ford telling some players to move back in the stack. Got to go back to where it was called.
Yeah. So vertical offense, we're pretty used to seeing picks out of that. I would say right now, Manic's vertical offense is a little bit jumbled right now. Or sorry, Strike's vertical is a little bit jumbled right now. So we'll see if they can clean that up a bit to give their throwers some better opportunities.
Their defense has yet to get a break, so this is really their defensive line's chance to make something happen here. McFadden finds Villa, who continues it to the far side. Might want to see Quinn Wilson get involved here, the Mofo product. Many of these players having played for that team. Wilson, number 1, their handler, being one of them. Toddle now, past the brick mark. Strike trying to knock on the door of a break. There's Wilson. You hear patience being called. He'll find Toddle for the score. And Strike gets the break back.
So we're back on serve. Strike working to get that break back. and making sure that Manic can't go on a run. But they answered pretty well right away. I guess now will be our opportunity to see if Manic is able to hold that focus, being scored on twice in a row. One's a break. Do you fizzle or do you come back from this? No problem. What is it?
We talked about the energy they had earlier. They got the break to start the game. They're all clapping, yelling D-line, and getting fired up. But here's the real test. Here, a little quieter, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. But that could just be the focus. Some teams, that's how they roll. You know, you bring the energy when you do that one thing, like getting a break point that you really, really want in the game. And when you've just been scored on by the defense, maybe it's time you're like, hey, everybody, just settle. Take a deep breath. We're fine. We're good. And sometimes that's exactly what teams need.
Lots of game left, of course, as we see Manic with pretty much the same offensive line. Kolinski's out there, Hooley, St. Pierre, Colberry. And we'll see what Strike decides to do. I see Wilson back out on the field as well. McFadden. So they're going to interchange some subs, but also keeping some of their defensive line stalwarts like a Quinn Wilson, who threw the assist just now.
So their hand signals led me to believe they were thinking about a zone, watching them plan here. But no, they stay in person D.
McEwen finds St. Pierre. And they're just content to continue this open side here. Jihad. Not in his call, so Colberry's going to have to move with some pace to walk it back. But there is a call. That is why he's kind of just sauntering off back to where he started and looked a little frustrated as well.
Yeah, he definitely reacted that he was upset with that call. Perhaps not with the defender, but maybe just couldn't quite believe it.
Michael Chura guarding Colberry. They're going to put it out to Colberry. Poach off the back's going to result in a turnover. Colberry clapping his hands in frustration, but got to play some defense right now as Strike going to go on the move. Did not see the poach in the back. Trying that same throw off of a stoppage. Sometimes I was always told from one of my captains never to do the same throw again after there's a stoppage, just because the defense kind of set up.
I can see that logic, yeah, and the defense is watching now. They've had time to look around, react, and get their bearings before when they didn't have that. So when the defense gets a chance to survey the field, you don't want to give them any extra info or do something predictable.
Wilson trying to put out a throw for Tramley, but that's going to settle into the turf, giving Manic another offensive opportunity here. They were able to work it down the field, just had a turnover close to the end zone. St. Pierre grabbing it under some pressure from Williams. Colbert going to lay it out for St. Pierre with the left-hand snag. And Glenn Ford is going to call it in. Colberry finds his target, and Manic gets the hold they desperately needed.
Oh. The observer Glenn Ford has always told me that if he's called it, it's correct. So surely a goal there. It was close. But we should point out, too, just for those watching, if you're not too familiar with the dimensions of an ultimate field, our end zone lines are just ahead of the 18-yard box for the soccer goalies. And it can be really difficult sometimes to see between the hemisphere at the front or any other lines on the field, that having those observers right down on the field to make those calls right away is really, really helpful. Because when the observers aren't there, the offense usually signals that it was in, and the defense usually signals that it wasn't.
A little confusion usually happens, but right now, if you're a Manic fan in the audience, you got to love what William St. Pierre is doing. Won a title on this, I believe, this very field, because that's where CUC was with University of Montreal, UDEM, and so hoping to maybe, get some of that championship flavor here. I know the finals will be played at Terry Fox Stadium, so not exactly on this field, but trying to repeat that as well here is St. Pierre and this Manic group, as now Strike back out on offense. Have really settled things down after that first mistake. Inside shot now to Cohen. Cohen finds Crew.
Strike making a lot more room in the vertical now.
Ladyman has Hoffman going deep. Faking the hammer multiple times. Instead finds Crew, who's going to a little give and go with Boris. Their offense looks a little bit smoother than I think we saw earlier, and more confident as they've settled into this game.
Yeah, this is we did talk about the vertical of the D-line, and I mean, we're seeing the O-line here, and they've just got a little bit better spacing than we saw earlier, but really taking their time too. We're seeing some good, just chill offense and take the easy shots.
Ladyman finds
Signal
Crew not in. Crew gonna go lefty backhand, and a little kick spike there on offense from Dylan Kagan, trying to get the strike players fired up as Crew gets another assist.
Manic cheering, chanting, staying in it. They've got their heads up. Look down the field. Looks all business with them right now. And that was an 0 point for Strike, so it's great to get a break on defense. Sometimes your job on defense is make their offense work hard, figure out what they're doing, and seek out those opportunities later in the game.
I know we're going to use a boxing analogy here on the Ultimate broadcast, but kind of like body blows and slowly whittling down your opponent to then strike on Universe for the victory. That's Manic's MO potentially. But right now they're back out here on offense, going left to right on your screen. Things really settling down for both squads, and Manic, part of the Club M system, another member of that system here, and Magma, a late addition to this tournament after Montreal Mephisto, who had qualified, finished second in the regional tournament in Quebec, electing not to come, so dropping out of the tournament, and then Magma takes its place as the 16 seed. So Manic actually finished third, but are now the second seed out of Quebec because of that.
Wind is still just enough to mess with the high throws, but that pole stays in bounds. It's quite a good pole, lofty time, so Strike can get right down.
Favre faking the backhand. Great active mark there from Gutkin, making things difficult. High release throw finds Salvas, who tries to change the dimensions of the field, going lateral, and definitely a travel called there.
Travels are not a stoppage, they're just a self-check, which he did, so play continues.
Going around, finds Favre. Over to Salvas, and quick moving offense for Manic.
Manic's offense, not at all looking phased right now. Just perhaps have made a mistake and got broken once, but very, very quick, crisp throws. There are a few deep shots there that were tantalizing, but players certainly did not take those shots in thinking we just wanted to have that retention. So that was Philippe Laborde that scored that. He played the World Ultimate Club Championships with Lab, and he has had 2 assists and 9 goals at the tournament, and that's a pretty big stat to have. 9 goals is basically an example.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's basically an example of teams failing to find a way to shut you down. You want to be that player on a team. The danger that people have to scout and talk about and deal with. As we saw in our previous game, actually, that we had on the stream. The Dubé brothers just ripping it up the whole time for Red Fox.
Throw settling down as person defense once again. Classic vertical stack here from Strike. They're doing it both on defense and offense. Villa, give and goal here with Goldberg. Finds Crew just past midfield. Strike looking very confident, as I said on the last point, and Manic might have to try some different things on defense to stop that Benoon bursting out of the stack. Gets a little gainer.
This offense definitely keeping the defense honest. We're seeing a deep opportunity, a deep strike every time coming off the back of the stack that the defense has to respond to.
Crew gonna flip it for Villa for the score, and Crew, 3rd assist already. Villa talking to the crowd, high-fiving, feeling good as they get another hold. Yet to be broken since the first point that they were a little bit phased here. They've had clean holds, Clay, ever since. So their offense has really started to feel it now.
Yeah. I think sometimes, too, when teams come out with a lot of intensity at the start of the game, sometimes that intensity can get the best of you. And perhaps both teams at the very beginning really, as we said, really want to come out firing against each other. You know, both are here to kind of show who they are, what they can do. Strike with a long history, Manic coming in as a younger team, but really showing some great focus and intensity. But if you let that get ahead of you, you do have to remember you still have to do the basics. You still have to make the right decisions. You still need to have a lot of focus and make the best choice you can with the disc and not throw it away. And it seems since, as you've said, watching both these teams sort of settle down, we're seeing a lot of ticky-tack ultimate in the middle, or tic-tac-toe ultimate in the middle, I should say. That's really just keeping the disc alive and just patiently working it down the field from both teams.
If you like offense, you tune into the right stream right now. Only 2 turnovers apiece so far from both sides. This has been offensive clinic at 6-5, the scoreline here. Expect nothing less from the 2 top teams in the pool fighting for that top spot. Get yourself that win you want into power pools, as wins do carry over.
So Strike, zone defense. They've got their 2-3-2. We'll see if they can generate a turnover with this or melt. As this defense, while does a really good job of holding back the offense, hard to generate turnovers. And after those 2 punches through, you can expect to go to man. But Gooey there to get the D after it bounces off the Manic receiver.
You hear the call from the sideline. You have timeouts. Maybe Strike will call one here. Wilson going to go to work here in the handler space for Strike. The mixed team PBHG also here from Winnipeg. Just missing out on Fusion. I know Fusion just played Worlds. Hopefully some of them I know are watching at home in Winnipeg, cheering on this Strike team.
Yeah. Yelling advice at the screen.
Hoping that they could hear them, but unfortunately, even if you put it in the chat, they won't be able to hear you.
So Strike back into their vertical. Once again, just being really patient. If it's not there, just reset. Really smart offensive play.
Things getting potentially high stall, finds Gooey, who got the block to get this offensive going for this D-line. Trua trying to go backfield. Instead, they go for Wilson on the short gainer.
Good look off on that throw there. Looks like he wanted it, but I think all the veteran offensive players would be like, you don't want to throw something really tight down the line against the fast team.
Wilson getting free at will right now on resets, and now finally changing the dimensions of the field or where they're working here. Neufeld.
Patient offense. It's not there, just reset the disc. Open side throw, following it up the line.
Really grinding this Manic offensive line to have to play a lot of defense right now. Trura finds Neufeld. Here you have a timeout calls, but inside shot to Wilson does it. What patience from the General Strike defensive line offense there.
Now, as an O-line player, it makes you feel so great when you watch your defensive line teammates play chilly offense and just do something so methodical like that. After which, you start getting kind of nervous because you might lose your job. But, you know, really, really great offense there. And I also want to just give a shout out to Gooey there on Strike. Earlier, he got a player that got behind him, gave up a goal. You could see he looked kind of disappointed. And getting that defensive block down here and just right in the area to clean that up, I mean, he wants to make that play and get it back. So that's a great thing to see for him.
7-5 the score line, and Strike did start on offense. So Manic does get the disc in the second half, but I think this is going to be a critical point for them just for momentum's sake as well. The offensive line, they played a pretty long defensive point, and they're actually back out there on the field, some of them. Colberry's out there. See Kolinsky, St. Pierre, Limoges. Excuse me, not Limoges. Salvas is out there. So some of the players playing double duty, and I was told before the game they are going to play the tight lines. They want to win this game.
Right.
It's not going to be a sort of, we're going to have everyone play. It's going to be tight lines, and we're seeing that right now.
Yeah. And certainly a momentum point. Going into half, and even if the other team's starting, to take half by 3 when you want a tight matchup is pretty huge.
Colberry has Salvas going deep, but looks him off. Finds him now in the underneath space. Salva's going to air it out for St. Pierre. Already got a few goals. Villa signaling I played some good defense there. Throw going to sail over both of their heads.
Yeah, the receiver there perhaps wondering if he got bodied from the back a little bit, but Villa seemed to have that position from the onset.
No Wilson on this defensive line for Strike. They're going to have some other handlers like Zachary Tottle make some plays, and trying to make the catch was Wilson and not able to come down with it. That's Brendan Wilson. Hooley. This is a gift for Manic's offense to work with this short field. They're going to have to take advantage. Salvas really trying to jet free and does find St. Pierre, who continues to have a great first half for Manic.
Also a big one just with the way the wind is blowing right now, as I would say our left side on your screen, the left side of the field is probably the easier side to be on right now. So for Manic's O-line to pull that up, it's going to make life a lot easier for the D-line here, and perhaps they can throw something a little bit trickier than person defense and punch it in quick. But we haven't seen any real crazy looks defensively from Manic.
We see
yet.
more zone looks from Strike, if anything. They've tried some
Yeah.
different things. That wedge zone, as you mentioned, making things a little bit more difficult for them and having them throw a lot of throws. We'll see what Manic decides to do. I do see some crossover right now. St. Pierre back out on the field. Limoges is there, so they know this is an important point. They're going to take some of their offensive players. McEwen is out there as well.
I'm sorry. I couldn't see that. Well, I think right now when you're putting those offensive players out there, though, like my prediction of there being a tricky look kind of goes away. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's a good idea. You want your best players out there when you need to make up the deficit, but right now it's also sometimes hard when your teams have very rigid lines to mix them up like that. So Manic has come down in a person defense.
And I do agree. I think they're going to have to potentially switch something up if they want to cause some issues for this Strike O-line, who's looked a lot more confident now. And as we say that, a block from McEwen.
Commentator's curse, Theo. Well timed. You're just trying to keep Manic in the game right now, so well timed.
Hey,
but,
for all the viewers.
So Manic able to pick it up at their brick mark, but there's a pick call.
McEwen, a heads-up play there. Had just mentioned how smooth their offense was. That was just a simple reset that was knocked down by McEwen. Finds Gay. And Gay's going to throw it right into the hands of Crew. But now Strike's going to have to work the full 70. Right to left on your screen. Airing it out. Multiple players in the area. Coming down with it is Crew with the bobble. Some discussion potentially. Limoges was in there. Kagan was in there.
I think Crew might have stopped as he felt there was an injury. His teammate there. They're all working it out. There was a few collisions there. Everyone's just making sure everyone else is okay. Everyone seems pretty happy with their position, so Crew will just tap that in and play will continue. You know, on that turnover, while we have time, that was the second time Manic tried to do the throw and go. That Strike had dialed in red before they even threw it. And once again, turning it over.
Trying to stuff at the open side, too.
Yeah,
right? Part of
yeah,
that.
and Crew right there was waiting for it. He was just standing there. He saw it coming. So that's two now that Strike has stifled on that read.
Crew going to tap the disc and has multiple players behind him that are free in Benoon and Goldberg. Finds Benoon, who then finds Goldberg, the two open players.
Notices his own travel and taps it back.
Ladyman looking for Benoon, finds him for the score. Crew was also there for safety, but Ladyman will find Benoon for the grab. And Strike takes half 8-6. They get a break and are up 1 as they're going to head into half with a little bit of momentum. Get the hold despite some turnovers. Their first non-clean hold of the first half. So before we sign off here, what did you see out there?
Well, I think we just saw a lot of discipline coming from Strike that entire half. Maybe not the first 1-2 points, but afterwards, Strike really dialed in their offense and had it under control. While Manic they seem to have a plan, but they haven't really thrown anything at Strike yet that they can't handle. We're just seeing only person defense. We've seen Strike read their offensive system twice and generate turnovers on it. So right now, I think Manic is just going to have to dip into their arsenal a little bit and just find something a little bit different for Strike in the second half.
Right now, we have General Strike out of Winnipeg with an 8-6 lead over Manic.
And we're about to head back into the second half. And as we get the poll going up, this is Tushar Singh from I'm Ultimate. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, please keep supporting local Ultimate. A lot of these players over the past few years we've seen playing in juniors. And with great coaching and community sport, they've been able to continue improving their game. So thank you for those that are viewing. And we're excited for the next 3 days of Ultimate. We have 4 games tomorrow, 4 on Saturday, and then the finals on Sunday. I'll now turn it back over to our commentators.
St. Pierre, you are having a game. You are having a game. That's all I can say. Going up strong for the score. Manic getting the hold out of half. You do want to see that. Theo Wan here with Clayton Howlett on the VC Showcase Field. Flower City, Brampton, Ontario. Pool C action. The winner gets a big advantage heading to power pools.
Absolutely. But you're playing your 1-2 games right now, and those wins carry over. So if you win out tomorrow, you'll at the very least 4-1, at best 5-0, which will carry you into a bye in the playoff bracket. So play less games, conserve some energy as you make your quest for the gold.
You definitely don't want to end up in that power pool where you come last, because then you have to play that play-in game. There's only a couple teams that have to do that, so you don't want to end up in that situation. So pool play won't fully dictate who wins the tournament, but it can make your path a little easier or harder.
Absolutely. With this heat, and, well, it's a seniors tournament, not a masters tournament, so I won't talk about injuries too much. But with this heat, for sure, you don't want to be out in it if you don't have to. So less games, the better right now.
Boris has the disc bounce to him, centers to Greenberg. Vertical stack once again from Strike. Villa has Crew going deep, going to air it out for him. Stephen Crew having to run over his head. Jumps in for the score. Crew's been scoring a lot through the assist, but he's going to get on the board with a goal.
Yeah, and off screen, Villa just doing a little celebration, getting a lot of love from his teammates right now. That throw, pretty perfect. If you're going to throw it over a guy's head, that's a really difficult place to read it, but when you just float it out in front of him, Crew, all he got to do was run onto it. He had time to look at the goal line, set up his feet, jump, catch the disc in the air so he'd land in and not be stuck outside of the end zone. So awesome throw by Villa there.
We're getting Manic's O-line back on the field. 39 minutes left in this contest, 9-7 the score, and if you're General Strike, you got to key in on one player right now. That's number 19, William St. Pierre. 5 goals, counted 5 of the 7 of Manic's points.
Yeah, he just keeps bringing it down. He's been sneaky. He's been coming off the back of the stack, not being caught, or he's just been alone on one-on-ones, or he's even caught it in double teams, triple teams even, and coverage hasn't mattered to him, and he's just getting up and over everybody right now. So I don't know if we'll necessarily see Strike back him, but we certainly need, Strike certainly needs to be ready to contest anything in the air when he's striking deep, because it's almost a sure thing that it's coming.
It's like you're speaking as their coach. It's just
yeah.
I get it. The perspective of the coach here. I know the audience got it as well. Yeah. Salves finds Colberry. Has St. Pierre going deep. But coming through for a huge gainer. Lebordet going to air it out for Kolinski. What a throw from Lebordet.
So that thing I was saying about perfect throws. I mean, you're putting that up on offense. If you can throw it where the defender can't get it and you're a thrower, you have done your job for hucks like that. You want to make it easy for your receiver. You don't. I mean, we talk about playing small ball all the time, and it's great because it's possession ultimate, but you got to huck sometimes. You got to go for it. You got to get these quick points, especially when you're down. So with throws like that, though, if you've got that dialed in, conditions or not, I mean, the wind has died down right now, but when you have that confidence to make a throw like that and where the defender can't get it, you're good to go.
Thank you all for tuning in to this exciting open pool matchup. We also got more streams coming for you starting at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow Eastern time. We know there's probably those, out in the Pacific or Mountain Time or even Maritimes. Lots of different time zones out there in Canada all tuning in. We appreciate that. Theo Wan, Clayton Howlett on the call. Tushar Singh on the 1s and 2s producing. Doing a lot. Wearing a lot of hats there. Having to change the score, make sure everything's going smoothly, and man the camera.
Yeah.
Do appreciate that. Also appreciate all the volunteers in the yellow shirts around the complex, making things happen. Without the volunteers, Clay, this tournament isn't really happening. So just always want to give a shout out to the volunteers. I don't know if they'll watch the stream, but know that they are loved and they are thanked here on the broadcast.
Oh, absolutely. I gave them a hand yesterday, and the amount of things they do to get ready is just astronomical.
Ladyman had crew going into the deep space, but Benoon instead on the under. Finds a slashing Cohen. The Strike really working with their offense, just so free-flowing right now. Manic's defense not really putting a lot of resistance on this Winnipeg squad. And another commentator's curse once again, a flying block coming through. Charles Gay making things happen for Manic.
Just need to keep my composure on the mic here. Another curse, like just as you say, but I mean, we were talking about that. That's what Manic needs right now. Are you going to bait the under and really turn it on and get that layout? And that's just what we saw right there. That's just a player turning it on and saying, I'm going to make something happen for my team. Sorely needed for Manic right now. And we have a pick call. Looks like Crew has caught up to his check.
Peterson going to keep the disc. One of the McGill players on the team, actually the vice president of the McGill Ultimate Program. Goes reset over to the person who made the block, or excuse me, one of his teammates.
Villa hungry for that. Came hard under the D, lays out for the up line.
Interesting throw choice, almost scooped up by Manic, but probably not the throw they're looking for, blading into a bunch of players in the stack.
No. Either forced or a little bit of a miscue, but the stance on that backhand looked really, really awkward, leading to that high errant throw.
This Strike offensive line not going to give you a lot of opportunities. I know they gave you one earlier in this game, but they didn't since, so you got to really take these D-line chances, especially going right to left, which makes it a little bit more difficult for Manic, but
yeah. Call downfield, looks like Villa and his check had some sort of collision. The discussion is, you hit me first, no, you hit me first, it would seem. Glenn Ford's going to come in here and fix this. He's got his stern walk on, stern face. But he is not needed, and they work it out.
That is why they're there, folks. Provide some advice if needed, or ruling if they go to it, but trying to let the players solve it, and that's what makes Ultimate different. So Boris going around to Ladyman. Greenberg finds the aforementioned Ladyman. Just past the brick mark. Little pitch and catch between Greenberg and Ladyman. Greenberg eventually finds Crew, who's having a great game for the Strike squad. And despite the turnover, they still get the hold. Strike continues to hold a 2-goal advantage.
And once again, you can't see them on your screen, but Manic running down to the line. Heads up, lots of talking, communication. The line's ready to go. They're cheering, they're chanting. Doing a great job, even though they still haven't been able to quite get that lead back since Strike got back on serve early in that first half. Very still focused on playing this game, staying intense. So quite a lot of time left. Manic could bring this back with a little bit of a run here.
They had that chance earlier, but were not able to convert. A bladed throw kind of into a bunch of people in the stack, not really going to work out. There was a second effort that potentially was there, but it didn't go Manic's way, and now they just got to hold out and try to make a break happen here. If the teams were to trade holds, which is score only on offense, then Strike would take home the victory, go back to their hotel or B&B and watch some of this footage and get ready for power pools as the top seed of the pool.
So with the wind coming back a little, and with the time as it is, the score as it is, I have a feeling we'll see. Oh, no, take it back. We're just in a person defense. And Manic tried a split stack play there, and it worked out. Great layout bid. But then the kind of telegraph throw right into the arms of the Strike defender.
And a timeout, smart timeout. Hear the cheers from
Loudest
the
cheer I've heard
sideline.
from Strike.
Nick McFadden calls the timeout, and they're sensing this is a really good opportunity now to go up 11-8, heading towards the latter stages of this contest. And you're right, kind of just a poach block when you're on offense, you never want to stand still trying to receive the disc, especially if it's in person. I would say especially, because that means your defender's just running through.
Yeah. I think, too, I mean, these teams, I think both teams have a sense of how hungry everyone is to get that defense, right? So if you're throwing, and I mean, I would kind of put that more on the thrower than I would the cutter, right? Perhaps the cut was a little too late, but as a thrower, you got to see that if you're turning around throwing to a cutter who is currently not in motion and it's not throw initiated and his defender's on his hip, it could be bad news bears, which right there, I mean, Strike's defender, that was number 1, Quinn Wilson, he saw that coming before the offense did, so.
Wilson and crew, sorry to interrupt you there, Wilson and crew, part of the Manitoba squad that won a CUC title just on this field, and all the way back in 2019. So a few years ago now, but they were able to take down another hungry squad there for the championship, and so they have that in their mantle and hoping to add a CUC title to that as well.
Yeah, kind of been an elusive one.
Been chasing it since 2012, if folks remember when they were in the final against Furious and lost in a very tight matchup, having the lead in the latter stages.
In Victoria.
In your hometown, is that true, Clay? So you remember that fondly. So does I Am Ultimate, who was on the stream for that one. Tushar Singh out here. Toddle making a sliding grab. Chance to go up 11-8 and really cement this lead here. Trying to go give and go, but Manic's going to take that away. Miranda now airing it out for Miranda. Bookends. Good effort. You hear the O's from the
wind picking
sideline.
up just as this point started, and that crosswind pushed that disc right down. And with that little bit of OI edge on it, I needed as that throw came right off the sideline, but just no loft in that throw. So Manic now seems to be poaching a lot more in the lanes.
Strike had a lot of players underneath. Coming down with it is Wilson. And a big foul from Salvas. And I'm going to hope that's incidental because you don't want to see a big foul like that right in the middle of the field. Him and Wilson discussing there, and heard some O's from the side as well.
I think that's accidental. But one could make the argument that you could take a little bit of a wider berth around, and Ford walks out with a yellow card, which is a PMF. So as you get one of those, I mean, the offense retains the disc. Had it been offense getting the yellow card, then they would have lost possession. But if players receive 2 yellow cards, they are banned for 1 game, I believe, or two halves. So it could be the second half and the first half of the next game, or remainder of the game.
They face some consequence. We would have to get the actual.
Yeah, I got to get the rule book.
You know,
out
tournaments
for that one.
have different rules, and so we're not going to fully guess here on the stream for you.
Yeah.
But basically, all you need to know is if Salves makes another play, which gets a yellow card, he might not be playing in another game later on in this tournament or the next game. That's what you need to know.
Absolutely. And I think the point that's being made here is while Salves ran through Quinn as Quinn pivoted and went for that big backhand and perhaps could not slow down in time as Quinn pivoted because he's looking at his check, or sorry, Wilson, I'm sorry. And as Wilson's pivoting for that backhand, perhaps Salves couldn't see him or was looking somewhere else and didn't see him pivot. But I think the point here was you don't need to run directly next to him at that speed. It's not safe because a serious accident can happen, which it just did.
And I know multiple people that have had concussions from Ultimate, and you know their playing career has been shortened. So we definitely don't want that from this event. Wilson going back around. Gutkin now on this break side. This is a break opportunity still for Strike. Trying to get that 3-goal lead and perhaps put Manic to bed. Manic thinking otherwise, trying to play defense on this offensive point. Cooley guarding Toddle. Toddle, no step backhand. Love that move. Goes around to McFadden. Giving going, keeping it around the brick mark. Gutkin doing a great job giving going, finds Toddle, maybe lulling the Manic defense to sleep as Toddle gets the goal and Strike gets a break.
And just staying disciplined. I feel like I don't need to talk about their offensive system anymore because they've given us a very clinical demonstration of how they run it. They're always going with the same plan, but it's a really fast-paced and putting the defenders in a bad position kind of offense. They're following their throw. Every open side throw they throw, they do a give-go. And automatically, their defender, if you have the dish, your defender's on the wrong side of you if you do a give-go right away. So they're setting up a lot of advantageous kind of already forgotten conclusion one-on-ones, if you will, and getting open. And Strike just staying so disciplined in that end zone. I think they've gotten 6 or 7 points now, just on the doorstep, taking their time and running that system.
As Strike gets ready to pull on this defensive point, I see a lot of players I have not seen on offense here for Manic. No St. Pierre, no Hooley. I see Limoges out there, no Colberry, no Miranda, so they're maybe going with a little bit of a secondary line here, seeing the score line the way it is.
Yeah.
They might go tight lines as they had talked to me before the game, but maybe deciding the strategy is going to change a little bit.
Yeah. No matter what, you can't burn out your players that you know later in the tournament are going to make plays for you. You can't keep St. Pierre out there playing every point, every other point this game, because whether or not you are in that play-in game or you get a bye into the bracket, you're going to need him in your playoff game. So, emptying the tank now might not be the best plan.
Okay, going up the line for Mojorarian. Trying to go with a second effort, but Strike was there. Quinn Wilson is just full of energy. Number 1 on Strike. He's been everywhere on the field. He plays strong defensively. Remember, I was very impressed with him when he played for the University of Manitoba in their final against the then named Ryerson, now Toronto Metropolitan University. Really impressed with his play for that squad, and he's really anchoring this defensive line. Chura. Haven't seen him on Strike for a few years, but I know he played Team Canada way back when, U23s in 2013 in Toronto. Good to see him back out there for Strike.
Yeah, a veteran anchor handler, my kind of favorite people. So we have a discussion here. Perhaps it's when the count should come in. And it'll be coming in at 6.
Just going to stay with Brendan Wilson. Nice little inside shot to a defender who's face guarding. Mojorarian not really looking at Wilson, and if that's going to happen, you know that kind of inside shot's going to come out. Ideally, you would like it to float a little bit more. It's kind of a laser, but.
Yeah, but we've been shown that the speed and intensity that Strike's playing with right now, that hasn't been too much of a problem.
Wilson going to go high around, finds Brendan Wilson. Tramley gonna look for Quinn Wilson. He falls down in pursuit, and it's gonna remain Manic disc here. Barry was in coverage there. Gonna go inside to Limoges. Limoges finds Gay, and they're trying to keep things moving here. Really close to this sideline. Giad, big bump, and
I think
gotta
for
be a
sure
foul
right
call
there,
right?
yeah, that blindside contact ensued. It's always discussion about whether or not that contact was enough to be a foul, and that is a tough one. It is a blindside, and with the way the rules have changed, I mean, we were talking about what happened to Wilson earlier. It's just a dangerous thing to do, right? And you could say, well, maybe the result of that particular case, no one got hurt, but when you blindside someone in contact like that, you're almost ensured that it's going to be a foul, perhaps a dangerous play. We'll see.
Giard going to come off the field. Owen Kalinske, previously playing for Toro out of Toronto in the juniors program, coming on the field. Greenberg also checking in for Gooey. who made the play. And you're right. I know at the USA Ultimate College Championships, a big thing was trying to stem dangerous plays as well. So I think observers got the memo on that, and hoping that stays here as well. I want to keep things obviously competitive, but also want to keep the players safe as well. We talked about concussions being a problem and other things. A lot of injuries have happened since COVID, right? Because a lot of people were off.
Absolutely. And it's become something.
High stall throw. Gay's going to come down with it. Barry throws the assist, but back to your point there, or what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch how the rules have evolved that way because I've been around for a while. And we're seeing a lot more of the rules be precautious and put player safety at the forefront in the way the contact works. And while the attitude could be that, hey, yes, I made that layout bid and there was contact, it wasn't that bad. The question now but it could be a lot worse. And unfortunately, in my ultimate career, I'm sure you've seen it in yours, and just watching games and everything, you see those instances where, hey, that's one of the ones where it was a lot worse. And had the rule been different, that player wouldn't have been hurt. So that rule change there is really the smart thing. And really no surprise that was a foul call and upheld by Nathan, our observer.
Manic out here pulling on defense. And we got a fun treat in the booth. We're going to have competition director Andrew Portwine for a quick little Q&A or maybe just saying hello to the crowd here. Portwine, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us in the booth. And
Hey,
how's the tournament going so far for you from a competition perspective? A lot of upsets have happened, which is exciting.
Yeah, a lot of upsets, quite exciting. For me personally, I love that the weather held off. There was a bit of lightning maybe rolling in, so we're going to get our full day of play in from the looks of it, and I think that's the most important thing for me right now.
Yeah, and we saw some upsets. Hound, right? A seed very low, taking down the #1 overall seed in open pool play. That's really exciting, right?
I feel like you might be taking a jab at my seeding there, but we know Hound was, better than they showed at regionals. We talked about this on your podcast, but they showed up today and they did what they needed to do, right? They won the games, so that's good on them.
Portwine, I would never take a shot at you on the air, maybe off the air, but as we see a call here and an injury, Carlos Villa coming off the field. Portwine, any other thoughts you want to share? Or Andrew, as you're probably known, but I just know you as Portwine. Andrew, any other thoughts you want to share with the audience before we give it back to our color commentator, Clay Howlett?
No, the biggest thing, I was sitting in the office looking at some scores, but we had the feed on. We're listening to you guys, and I just want to say you guys are doing a great job, and thank you for being out here and really giving the added coverage to these teams and to the people at home that can't be here with us. So we really do appreciate the service.
Well, we appreciate Tushar Singh on the 1s and 2s producing. Mojararian coming on here for Manic. We're going to pass things over back to Clay Howlett, who's going to join us on the mic. And Andrew Portwine, one of the staff that have really made this thing happen. We could list all the staff that are integral to making this championship run, but then we would run out of airtime because there's just so many people being involved, staff, volunteers, Clay. So Strike still on this offensive point, working really smoothly. Hoffman, haven't called his name much. I want to see the young fella get involved here, especially late in the game. Benoon going to call off Crew and under the hand, and this is the opportunity Manic needs.
Really is kind of a gift to Manic right there. Benoon's been really quick, really consistent all game, calling Crew off of that and just dipping down with the single hand. Probably I would have done the same. It's an awkward angle, but maybe took his eye off it just at the last second. Or maybe if you want to seal this game up, put your body in front of it. But just a small mental lapse there that might be a big opening for Manic.
Benoon trying to does go horizontal, but comes up empty.
Certainly wants that back.
Salvas up on this defensive point, going to blade one around, and that's a difficult throw, or excuse me, difficult catch to make for Vuto. That just trying to fade back with the blade coming. Just a bit of a tricky read here.
Yeah, you attack early too because you don't know where your defender's at, so you kind of put yourself at a disadvantage that way.
And just a couple execution errors affecting Manic's chance to make a comeback here, down 11-9. Time starting to tick away here. 85-minute games. We started at 2:30 Eastern. Benoon, big flick fake. Gets a reset to Ladyman. Ladyman inside shot. And continuing it over, that's Goldberg finding Boris for the score. And now they restore that lead of 3, and now it's 12-9.
So Strike able to get that back and have, with time ticking down, very, very important hold. As that could have been kind of the start of a run for Manic. Well, start of the only run with the time the way it is, that they could maybe make up 3 points here. It's going to be quite difficult if Strike comes down with their 2-3-2, burns up some clock, makes Manic move it around a lot. Or perhaps they're thinking right now, I mean, I've heard once or twice, you know, the nail in the coffin speech that you get in these points in games, sometimes a little bit more rated R discussions.
Yeah,
but
not on the stream, not on the feed. We won't say it on the feed.
But,
you
know, that could be the other discussion or mindset that Strike has right now. So let's see what they come up with. If it's going to be more of a, you know, let's suffocate and slow them down with our zone, or let's just aggressively take it to them.
In my view here, Clay, is if you're trying to make a championship run, which we know Strike is, you got to conserve the energy of your top players. You don't want to keep them going out every point, and we saw the same with St. Pierre and some other players like Hooley for Manic not going out. It's the first day of, if you're lucky and get the chance and the privilege to do so, 4-day tournament if you get to the final right on Sunday. So as we see the pull go out of bounds, Colberry going to center for Manic. They're more or less their true offensive line back out on the field.
Well, it looks like Strike selected to go with person defense. So that more aggressive look.
Colberry goes to the back end, even though a person trying to poach off, trying to make a play. Going up large is Hooley. And finds Laborde for the score. Laborde, a little stare down at the end. Okay, a little spicy from number 14 on Manic Laborde. And maybe that's going to fire up the team. I don't know. You don't want to stare down someone when you're losing.
No, but, you know, he's had a battle against Wilson this game for some points, and Wilson has been quite the highlight player this game for Strike. So maybe just getting it past him has got, you know, it kind of sends the signal to his team that he wants to take on the superstars of the other and really challenge them. So, but we'll need to see some pretty aggressive defense from Manic here, which I think they've even tricked me. It seems they've kind of been chilly a little bit, stopped the deeps, and then when Strike elects to go for the under, they just really clamp down and aggressively go for it. But Strike has just been so chill and consistent on offense and not really throwing into poaches or into traffic, which Manic has been having that problem. So I think at this point, Manic is just going to come down high energy and just try and force a grindy turnover here.
They had that one chance, weren't able to do it. Wind has significantly died down, at least from the stream that I did earlier between Luna and Remix, which is a quite windier affair. Barry set to pull here for Manic, was on an offensive point for the squad earlier. Do see William St. Pierre out there, so they'd elected to play him on this defensive point. Not the whole offensive line, just him. Greenberg is going to go around to Ladyman. Ladyman has Crew. Going to hold on to the disc for a little bit and look for another option. A little shimmy back to Crew now underneath. A pick being called. It's going to halt play. And Ladyman, double dipping as a coach as well, was at the World Ultimate Club Championships with Fusion out of Winnipeg. So once again, another Fusion shout out. Hope they're watching at home. But Ladyman, a coach there.
I think it's interesting seeing St. Pierre out there right now. The 2 or 3 point lead in the game when it's tight is a real tough one. It's, do you play your top players and get back in it, or do you rest? Is this game already away from us? And 90% of the time you're thinking, hey, this game's still in our grasp. So I'm not too surprised to see them out there, but hard decisions, and not too surprised to see coach go back on fourth on line calling or something, because if your second line pulls up the socks, you know, and gets you those breaks, perhaps you want your top players back out there.
But this is why we're up here and they're down there making the calls here. Nice little lefty from Crew to get things started, but that throw too far for Ladyman. So we saw an earlier point, that same side where Benoon couldn't make a play. He had the disc go under him, and this is a chance now for Manic. You're not going to get many more, Montreal, so you're going to have to make things happen now. McCown to pick up for this Manic group.
Yeah, this is pretty do or die time for Manic right now. Not a whole lot of time left in the game. You're losing by 2. You have to, at the very least, get this point, and then maybe you can get away with Strike having another hold before you get another break. But right now, I would feel like Manic would have a very hard time coming back if they don't make this point. That being said, I will happily eat my words if they if we get a barn burner here. So
I've already eaten my words with some of the commentators' curses I did here. So 10 minutes left in this contest. Travel called by Greenberg. Going to set the disc a little bit back there for Gay. McCown flips it over to Limoges. Not a lot of deep cuts happening for Manic as they settle for some underneath cuts. St. Pierre now going deep. Gay looking for him. St. Pierre gonna, I wanted to make sure he caught it, gonna walk it in for the score. And that's a break for the Montreal side. We got a game, folks.
Right there, 3 Strike defenders. After St. Pierre made that strike, he got pretty deep. The thrower hadn't thrown it right away. St. Pierre had slowed down a little bit, laid him in. 2 other defenders down there all stopped, and they're just, I saw it in their faces. They're not throwing to him. It's too late. It's not the right timing. That throw goes up to the back of the end zone. St. Pierre takes off, and the 3 Strike defenders just stood there, hands at their sides, hunched over, couldn't believe it, and they're like, wow, he actually went for it. So, right, good, like strategic thinking by the Strike players there, but sometimes, teams are just going to go for it. You got to be ready.
We're going to get a look at this Manic defensive line. They're going to have to power things up here. They've already had a good run. See Girard out there, Kolinsky, Hooley's going to pull, Gay's out there, St. Pierre, Mojavarian for this Manic side as they're trying to break back and tie things up. They did score going right to left, which at least traditionally so far this day has been the trickier side to score on. Victor Płatsikowski also out there. His brother Sasha Płatsikowski you may have heard of on the World Game Stream, playing for France. Hooley the lefty with the pull. Strike with a similar looking offensive group.
Electing to keep their vertical.
I don't think they're going to change from that, Clay, especially late in this contest. So teams are going to get a good scout on if they watch this film. I expect some teams that will play them in power pools, Pool A specifically. Hound part of that Pool A that got some big wins today over Ascension, and then number 1 overall seed Quake. So really shaking things up in this tournament. All divisions having some upsets, so love that. Makes for good television, you said off the air, so I think that's
absolutely.
True.
So seeing a lot of deep strikes from General Strike right now, but staying really patient, understanding that this is a big hold that they must get, which they do.
Great throw from Crew. He is just having a game, folks. I'm going to count how many assists he has and make that 4 for him. Throw a couple goals in there, and Crew's having a great match here on this stream.
So the wind getting stronger, but both teams seemingly having no issue with it right now. And we've got, looks like there might be some rain being pushed, well, hopefully away from us. But
rain
with the
clouds or actual rain?
Yeah.
Actual rain, we've been told by our producer Tushar Singh there.
But not too much time left in the game now. If Manic were to get this hold, I think they'd still be in business. But I think Strike could put it away right now with this. We've got 7 minutes left. So if Strike can get a break here, I think it's over.
I think that's also true. So this is a defensive line here from Strike that's going to remain mostly, actually all of their defensive players, no offensive line players crossing over. So just know that they've been getting breaks without having to do that. So I know that obviously in a later game in this tournament, they're going to potentially power up and have some of those offensive players, a Crew or a Greenberg or someone else, go up on their defensive line. But right now, not needed, at least so far in this pool play matchup. Colberry going to take the disc.
Like you say as well, maybe you don't want to do that yet. Maybe that's the strategy that
too.
you keep for the next big team that you play, that you don't want to show up.
Middle of the stack going deep. Trying to find Kolinsky on the initiation, and they're going to have to settle for a reset instead. Miranda is going deep. That throw's going to float. But Miranda's going to come down with it. Great effort from Toddle. But it's going to work out for Manic, and they are staying in this game. Favre with the assist.
Theo, I'm getting a little anxious.
Why is that? Why is that?
Well, I talked about eating my words earlier, and we've got about 5 minutes left, and Manic is in this game still. We've seen a really strong, consistent O-line and Strike. I am scared to say that, you know, this is anyone's game right now because Strike has been in control and their O-line has been so consistent, but Manic will just not go away. And now within 1 point, there's no cap right now. They get this break, they get a hold. Universe could be on the horizon here.
This is exciting stuff. We thank you for tuning in. We got more action coming for you. I Am Ultimate's production of the 2022 Canadian Ultimate Championships, Brampton, Ontario. The VC Showcase Field. Lots of great stuff happening. Want to give a shout out to the city of Brampton for allowing this tournament to happen. Also being a sponsor of this tournament.
So we see the pretty familiar O-line from Strike here. And as you pointed out, Theo, they're just right back into their vertical.
Crew got a little height advantage there on Limoges coming out of the stack. And a couple offensive players also out for Manic and Hooley. And St. Pierre. St. Pierre has got a lot of mileage in this game, so we'll see how. I think he's got the energy, former hockey player there, but you never know. Goldberg finds Ladyman. Strike. Not going to go quick-paced offense here. Ready to just settle things down.
Yeah, Manic's been doing a good job at this point of switching in the deep, so Strike is getting those unders, and as I say that.
As you say that, Crew's going to get free for a score. Steven Crew gets the goal from Dylan Kagan.
Well, we're 3 for 3 on the curse here, Theo.
We definitely are, by the way. That is something that's truly happened when we're saying one team's going to do something and they can do the complete opposite.
Yeah. Well, I was saying Manic did a great job right up until then of getting the great switches on the deep. So as soon as there was a deep strike, whichever defender was the last back, that is to say, just positioned the most deep on the field no matter who they had, dropping off and taking the deep threat. But that time, Crew kind of took a look around and found that there was no one available to switch on him, took off, and got a rather easy deep strike.
Just about 3 minutes left to the cap here. You always wait suddenly for the horn. It's hard capped here in pool play, folks. So it's a little bit different than in the final, which is my favorite thing because it's a soft cap +1 where even though the horn blows, the team that wins, you're going to have to score the last point to win, which might not necessarily happen in pool play.
And in hard cap, it's as soon as the horn goes, you finish the point. However, a point technically starts as soon as the last point has concluded. So Manic, if they were quick to score here, and then the horn would go right after they would score, they could get a break, tie up the game, and be a bit universe. So
yep.
Strike can break to win. Manic can get a hold and keep this alive, and then time won't matter after that. So we'll see what we get.
The thing they want is they don't want like a 5-minute point because then that'll be over at that point.
Yeah, they have to score before the horn goes here, before cap, or the game will just end.
Kolinsky thought about the Hucks, going to settle for Colberry instead in the reset. Has Miranda slashing across. Now Salvas. Here the shooter calls for Colberry. He's been throwing it all game. Does it for McGill as well. Going to go around to Kolinsky. They're really aware of St. Pierre in the deep space right now. As we're less than about 2 minutes to cap here, I believe. So Manic is going to have to score at some point within the next couple minutes before the cap goes off, and a pick call is going to halt their chances of doing that, of moving quickly.
Yeah. Well, it seems resolved pretty quickly, which is great. Discussion is not what Manic wants right now.
No, they don't want to get into like a 5-minute call fest or something like that. Kolinsky keeps Keeps it on this side to Labourdet. Finds Colberry just outside the end zone. Flips it to Kolinski. And Manic, a little elbow spike from Kolinski, accentuating that point. And now it's 14-13.
So now the cap doesn't matter. So Strike's going to get a goal. They're going to win the game. If Manic scores, they'll take it to 14-14. Then it'll be a universe point. So at this point, time does not matter. So
this is do or die right now for both teams. This is super exciting, Clay. We're going to see the General Strike offensive line, the one that we've seen throughout this game. And now Manic, they're not putting out a lot of offensive players this time around. Take a look.
yeah.
No St. Pierre, no Hooley. I see Charles Gay out there. Barry's going to pull. But it's going to be a more traditional defensive line. Very interesting call considering they crossed people over earlier in this half or kind of later parts of the half.
Well, it's possible. I mean, like you said, with all the mileage that some of those players have been getting, you might want, if Manic gets the break, you're thinking to yourself as a coach, I want those players on for Universe. I want them to take it to it because we need to get 2 breaks in a row to win this game if we're Manic, right? Like, not just play defense on this point and get it, but also the next. So they might be having this line get the first down and then a totally second set of players for the next.
That could be the thinking around for Greenberg from Ladyman. Ladyman going to go deep now. Boris. High throw. And not able to come down with it. An injury called as well. Yeah. Perhaps a foul call. We're going to take a look. You may have heard the horn in the background, but Clay, as you mentioned, inconsequential at this point.
Yeah, looks like a cramp. Both legs up. A lot of pain on the face. We've all been there. So that's Dylan Kagan, who's luckily got some supportive teammates to go out there and help him out. And since the time doesn't matter anymore, you know, no one needs to complain about the clock being eaten up. It's just, it is what it is.
At this point, it's the last game of the day, Clay. I don't mind if this game went 17-17 back in the old days when you would see international games go 17. That would be fun as well. We see him come off the field. Hoffman going to go in his stead. Hopefully he's okay there. It's been an important part of their offensive line. And Hooley going to come on for Manic, and I love that substitution for them because you get a shooter out on your defensive line to try to make things happen, and he's going to pick up the disc right now.
Yeah.
Hooley. He's going to go Scuba over the top. Love it. Manic now holding onto the disc a little bit, and there's a pick called. You put Hooley on, he gets a Scuba right away to Liam McCown.
If you're not too familiar with why Manic subbed there, the team that doesn't call the injury is also allowed 1 sub when injuries are called. And we have a collision pick falling down happening in the vertical stack, which is expected.
McCown against a much taller Hoffman, 7. He's going to have to throw it out to Hooley. Stays with it. Good concentration from the captain. Lots of players coming back. Looking really messy. Finds Limoges. A little behind him, but able to make the grab. Things looking a little tense for Manic right now. He's got to air it out. And it's going to go over multiple players' heads.
Yeah, Ladyman making everybody go early there with a really well-timed jump. And the wind has also gotten a little bit more gusty, and it just kind of lifted it up there right at the end. But Ladyman really smart jumping early in that big pack of people. When you're surrounded with all that coverage, as soon as the first player goes up, you go up too. It's just an instinct. So really smart to make everybody go early.
Vertical stack looking a bit stagnant here. Finds a safety valve in Cohen. Hoffman was too deep for that throw, so Cohen going to have to look back. Finds Crew. A switch that's late allows Cohen to go deep. And Crew's going to find Cohen for the score. What a game from number 8, Stephen Crew. He helps General Strike take down Manic 15-13. They win Pool C What a game. Thank you for tuning in, Clay. Just trying to catch my breath up here in the booth. A late switch from Manic made that happen.
Absolutely. Like we were talking about that earlier, how Manic had those switches going, and they definitely have that in their repertoire on defense of doing the switches in the vertical, but just too late. That momentum that receiver had was just too much speed, and the switch couldn't happen in time. So Strike able to put it away with an uncontested deep strike, but I don't want the game to end with the uncontested lingering in the air because this was quite a close game. Strike in control most of the time, but Manic was always in it.
Manic definitely showed some resilience, breaking back, doing a great job. William St. Pierre, a key for them, was all over the stat sheet for that squad, finishing with 6 goals. Stephen Crew, 5 assists, 3 goals as well. As the wind really starting to come down here, we thank you for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow starting at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, same place, the CBC Sports YouTube channel. For Clay Howlett, Tushar Singh, our producer, thank you for tuning in. I'm Theo Wan. We'll see you tomorrow.